MyCORE is on a mission to be the world's most people-centric company. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the core of people. I'm your host, Nathan Bourne, and I invite you to join me as we deep dive into the personal and professional lives of our guests. We're going to learn who they are, why they exist, and what they do. We're going to hear their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In other words, we're going to talk to some really cool people. Welcome to the MyCORE Podcast. Hello. Welcome to the MyCORE Podcast. This is episode conversation number 020. So the 20th episode since we kicked off the podcast. And as I promised so many episodes ago, every 7, 10 or so conversations, I plan to do one solo, like Jason Derulo. Anyway, so I am riding solo today, and I'm just going to take a few minutes to give you a little update on the latest and greatest in my life, on the latest and greatest in the wonderful world of MyCORE. And hopefully you are coming along for this journey. We have exciting things happening internally. We have exciting things happening externally in the way that we're showing up in the world and building community and building brand and growing and expanding. And it doesn't lack its challenges. Every level has its devil. But I want to just keep you abreast to that story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as the episode or the description, I should say, for this podcast states. The purpose is to get to the core, of people, to get to the core of the topic, the issue at hand, either in our personal lives or what's going on in the world, and just trying to stay present, trying to be relevant, not for the purpose of clicks or views, but for connection, so that we don't feel alone, don't feel like we're just going through this thing called life and going through the motions, but that we're living it truly, which isn't always rainbows and butterflies. But if you put the work in and you understand the compound effect and the slight edge, and every day you make the right decisions and you have the faith that it's coming together and it's connecting, you can really build some incredible stuff. So my hope today, I don't really have any notes. I mean, I have my handy dandy notebook, but I got nothing, is to just speak from my heart, tell you a little bit about the experience with even launching a podcast, what that has led to and is leading to, and just give you little nuggets, little updates, little things that I've learned and am learning along the way. So I mentioned it just a moment ago, but I want to kind of kick off this conversation with the basis of a philosophy, of a law that I live my life by, and I have for quite some time. And that is the compound effect. If you have not read the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, swipe up, link in bio. In all seriousness, I'm going to include a link, but just go search it or click on the link, and you can use our affiliate link. They'll send us like $1. There's another book that goes along with it called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And anytime I enter into a relationship where personal development, personal growth is a part of that conversation, whether because we're two peers just kind of comparing notes and talking about the books we read and the things we've learned and are learning and apply to our lives, or because I'm being asked to give direction or a mentorship or the cheat code, the shortcut, which there's no such thing. But I always ask the first question of that person: have you read The Compound Effect and or The Slight Edge? And then I task them immediately with reading those two books. I kind of can't work with a person until they have, because I need them to understand the basis of all growth, the foundation for all development, that in the act of doing a thing, negative or positive, constructive or destructive, you're not going to be able to feel all the results. It's not going to be sexy. You will barely even know if you're on the right track. But we're pretty smart, right? I mean, we know what to do. We know that eating unhealthy ultimately will lead to health issues. Eating healthy and exercising and staying fit and active can only help. The challenge is that in the act of doing it, in that little decision, it just seems to make no difference in that moment, right? I mean, if you went and ate a Big Mac from McDonald's and you had a heart attack immediately and had to be rushed to the ER, you'd probably never go to McDonald's again. Heck, I don't even think you'd have to be the one to eat it if you just saw somebody else do it, somebody that you loved, somebody that you cared for. You'd go, whew, I'm not doing that. But it doesn't work that way. It takes the compound effect. It takes the act of doing that consistently over an extended period of time to result in obesity and heart disease and heart failure. On the flip side, if the first time you ate a salad and went for a jog, you had abs of steel and felt like $1,000,000 and were full of energy, then you'd go, well, this is the path. Of course I'm going to stay on that. But the problem is it takes time. It takes spaced repetition. It's not something that happens immediately, negatively or positively. So there's this element of faith that comes in, because for an extended period of time, you're going to have to make the right choice. You're going to have to do the right thing. And you're going to have to believe that you're on the path of growth, even though it seems like not a whole lot is changing. And that's because it hasn't compounded yet. From the outside looking in, you'll be about where you were, whether that's in your health, your finances, your leadership, your influence, your relationships. The list goes on. But if you keep doing that thing over and over and over again, and you keep a positive expectation, you have the right attitude, what will happen is time will pass and things will start to culminate. Things will start to accumulate, and you'll start to see little seedlings, little pieces of evidence that you're on the right track. Those are morsels. Those are breadcrumbs. Those are gifts, because that means you can keep going and keep going and keep going. But eventually what will happen is you'll kind of create your own tipping point in your life where all of a sudden the wind is at your back and things are coming together. And it will happen rather quickly. It will seem like it happened all at once, or at least to the people that are outside looking in. They'll go, man, that was like an overnight weight loss or an overnight success, where you went from 0 to hero in like no time. But you and a few other people that are on that journey with you will know that, no, actually, I started that journey quite some time ago. I got on that track and on that path years ago. So this is really, really important, because most people live their lives on autopilot. They're just going through the motions. They're taking what life hands them. They are doing the best that they can with what they've got. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Sometimes life does hand you a nasty hand, right? It deals you a nasty hand. But we get a great deal of control. We get a great deal of free will. And it's up to us to make those decisions. And they're not always easy. They're sometimes uncomfortable. They're sometimes the path of least resistance, or I should say the path of most resistance, right? And yet at the same time, they are easy to do. They're doable. The problem with something that's easy to do is it's easy not to do. And in the moment, back to the moment, it's seemingly insignificant. It's no big deal. It's like, whatevs. I mean, what kind of a difference could that make in the grand scheme of my life? but compounded, it makes all the difference. Right now in this moment, I'm recording this episode on Friday at 3:49 p.m. and I've been sick the last few days. Literally in bed, got hit with a virus, felt like I got hit by a truck or a train. Woke up this morning, felt better, but didn't feel great. Could have probably stayed in bed all day, maybe even should have, I don't know. But I thought, you know what? I had to cancel that one episode with my guest that we were going to do yesterday because I was so sick. And we've been consistently producing every single week a new episode. Every Monday morning, we drop the MyCORE Podcast. Every Wednesday morning, we drop the Chairman Podcast. New episode. And I'm hopeful that people are starting to build habits around our habits. That they're saying, hey, I start my week, I start my day every Monday with the MyCORE Podcast. I start my hump day, my Wednesday with the Chairman Podcast. And we want to build trust. We want to build goodwill with our audience, with our listeners, with our followers. So that's a two-way street. I got to do my part. Ned and I are going to record another episode when I conclude this one. And that's something that I didn't want to do today, frankly. But I remembered this really important phrase that I often remind myself. And I would pause this, write it down, screen save it, record it. Get this hardwired into your thinking. It's so simple you might miss it. First, I'm going to take a sip. Okay, dramatic pause. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. It's really that simple. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Unsuccessful people are not willing to get up when they're feeling down or sick, when they could easily make an excuse, when they could say, well, aren't you the boss, man? Didn't you found the company that produces the podcast? You wouldn't get in trouble. You wouldn't let anyone down. What difference would it really make if you record it today and it drops on Monday, or you record it on Monday and it drops on Tuesday? No big deal. And you know what? You're right in that moment. But compounded over time, it makes all the difference. And you just never know what activity will yield which result. Now, I'm not suggesting you live in fear your whole life, that if you don't do the right thing every time, you might miss the opportunity. No, chill a little bit. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right? You got to have a little serenity prayer in your life, right? You got to know the things you can control, the things you can't control, and pray for the wisdom to know the difference. But I could control this today. I'm not going to die if I get in my car, drive up here, get dressed, show up, form a thought, record it onto this platform, and have it ready for Monday. However, it could be that one listener that picks up that one nugget, that applies it to their life, and it changes things for them. It could be an opportunity that comes from a short form clip from that episode. I hope you know this is an analogy at this point, right? That there's so many times on the journey of life and business and leadership and success where we just fall asleep at the wheel. We aren't paying attention. We're on autopilot. We're just going through the motions. And what reading the compound effect and reading the slight edge, and most importantly, living by it, will do for you, as it has done for me, is it makes me hyper aware of all those decisions. I don't wish this upon everyone. So warning, if you like just going through your life blindly and letting the results be the results, then don't read the books. Stop listening to this right now, because it will make you so aware that the next time you pick up a drink, you will think differently about it. The next time you go to eat something unhealthy, you'll think differently about it. The next time you go to pick up that call and you get that call reluctance, you'll do it anyway. In fact, you'll find yourself doing all these things that are just little decisions, seemingly insignificant, no big deal, couldn't possibly make a difference. But you'll be so committed, so devoted to the compound effect of that decision and stringing it along with likewise decisions, with aligned and congruent decisions, you won't want to break that chain. You won't want to mess up that sequence. You'll want to stay on that track. You'll want that to compound and tip and to explode into that hockey stick growth. The important thing here is that everything that has to happen for you to get that exponential growth, that hockey stick growth, well, that hockey stick can be flipped downward too. So when people go through a life spiral and they're like death spiraling to their demise, their health, their relationships, their finances, when that's all crumbling, obviously I can have sympathy for that person. I have intervened in those situations for people in my life, but I'm not shocked by it because I understand the compound effect. And I know that that's not an isolated incident. I know that that's a compound effect over an extended period of time of making decisions that are poor decisions, that in the act of making them seem like no big deal, but compounded over time, those slight little edges all added up, all multiplied upon each other, is what led to that death spiral or what led to that skyrocketing in your life. So here's the good news. You can change this right now. If up to this point, you've been kind of falling asleep at the wheel, you've been thinking, whatever, I'm generally on the right path. I generally make the right decisions, but you're not like super aware, keen, like hyper aware. Well, then I would encourage you to lock in, to get super aware. And if you're somebody that says, hey, I want to be massively successful, I want to make a big splash, I want to have a big impact, I want to leave a dent on my community and on the planet, I want to change the trajectory of my last name, like I'm in, Nathan. That's why I listen. That's why I get around successful people. That's why I read the books that I'm suggested. Well, then I'm telling you, you got to read The Compound Effect. And if you haven't read it in a while, you got to reread it. You got to get in touch with it all over again. Because it's not just that you make the right decisions or don't. It's the attitude and the feelings and the oomph and the passion that you have while you're making those decisions. Because that's that little slight edge. That's that little extra special sauce that makes you not just a machine going through life, but that evokes emotion that people are drawn to. And I don't know, it's metaphysics, it's the law of attraction, it's God, some combination thereof. But nobody has ever arrived at a level of significance. Nobody's ever arrived at an area or a place where they've made an impact and it was random to them, or that they were like shocked. I've never heard that story. Every story I've ever heard of a person that had an impact, they knew it the whole time. They were hyper aware of the path that they were on. They were conscientious of the decisions that they made. And it took an extended period of time of making those right decisions. So I'm sharing this framework of the compound effect and the slight edge because it could radically change your life. In fact, there's very few things that I will guarantee. This one, I guarantee it. I guarantee it because I've watched it happen so many times and I've watched it happen in my life. I want to give you a couple caveats and a couple like insights on how you can approach this. Here's the deal. The bigger and deeper and wider and more meaningful the effect that you want to have, the longer it will take to compound. Meaning if you are sitting here and you are 50 pounds overweight and you say, I want to be a professional bodybuilder. Well, then basic logic will tell you that it's going to take a lot longer than just getting into decent shape or getting back into like normal, average levels of fitness. So it's important to look out into the future, to set your sights on how big of a deal you want this to be, how big of a deal you want to be, and then just get really clear about the fact that, oh, because I have this really hairy, audacious goal, this BHAG, this big, hairy, audacious goal, it's going to take me a long time, which is going to require a lot of good decisions, a lot of faith, a lot of positive attitude. Now, how long is long? I don't know. It's relative. 5 years, 10 years, 7, maybe 3. I mean, 1 year is not very much. So one trip around the sun would probably get you on track to where you would like feel that you're on the way. But I've never seen anyone like ultimately change their lives or make a big splash in 1 year. If they have, it's because we didn't see the 4 before that or the 9 before that. They were doing it and moving in silence, right? They were building behind the scenes or off the grid, which is also a really important warning. Because if you're comparing yourself to other people and you see them come onto the scene and it's like in 1 year it all took for them or they blew up, I would do your research on that person. I would do your research on that brand. Go look at when it was established. Go find out how long they've been on that grind. I think you'll be surprised. You'll go, oh, that's not an overnight success. That's a 10-year overnight success. Yeah, it's a pretty long night. It's a damn slumber party, right? So set like proper expectations for this so that you don't get discouraged. Also, if the thing you're trying to do, once again, is a biggie, like you want to build a massive enterprise, or you want to change something in your life that has been a major issue, like an addiction or an affliction, know that you're signing up for a challenging path, for a path of most resistance. That will help you because you can get discouraged, and warning, you will. You will get discouraged when 3 years go by and you're still not there. You will get discouraged when 5 years go by and you're still not there. But if you keep the faith, if you stay the course, and you chalk every single decision with belief and passion and positive expectation, I guarantee you it will compound. It will come together. And that's what's happening in my life. By the way, the earlier you start, the better. Like the stock market. If you invest in mutual funds at 25, that's very different than at 30 or 35 or 40 or 45. When you look at that retirement age of 65, the amount of money that you have, because you invested X amount of dollars in those early years, it makes a difference. This might be discouraging to you if you're in the middle of your life or you're getting up there and you're going, I haven't been making great decisions. Okay. Why? I don't know, but you could change it now. It's not too late. You're not dead. You have time. If you're a young person and you're listening to this, you're in your 20s, dude, get on this. Take it from me. I started working on myself early. I ignored the noise. I resisted the temptation. I certainly didn't do it all right. But there were some key things that I did in my development as a leader and as a person and as a believer. Just like I have foundation, I have rooting because I started so early in the game. And that has given me these unconscious competencies that I've developed through because the right people came around me at the right time. I was blessed. I was fortunate to have an opportunity to make the right decisions. And I have humility around that. I also have a little bit of pride, not like pride, like the one that cometh before a fall, but like I'm proud of it. Like I stand tall, puff my chest a little bit because I did make those decisions and I didn't go do the things that my peers were doing through their 20s. So I don't know where you are, obviously, in your life walk, but I do know this. You have today. And immediately you can start making different decisions. And I'm just giving you a warning. If you get all hyped up and you're pumped and you're like, this is my year, I'm going to do it. Well, this needs to be your life and you're going to do it. This needs to be who you are and you're going to do it. It's not just a fad. It's not just a kick. It's not just a resolution. It's a way of life. It's a leading with who you are. That's where the sustainability comes, because in all those moments that you're making these little decisions, the thing that will reinforce the positive decision, the thing that will give you the pizzazz to do it, even when it's seemingly insignificant, is you'll go, wait, I just made a deposit in the That's Me bank account and not a withdrawal from the That's Me and a deposit into the That's Not Me. And you have to define that, and you have to do it daily, every single day, because core values, they're fluid. They shouldn't be, but they do have to get reinforced. They do have to be anchored. They do have to grow deep into the root system. So to sort of round third base on this thought process, I started down the path of personal development and personal growth at 20 years old. Prior to that, I'm 36 now. I know I look 50, but fuck off. So I'm joking, but I started down the path of like really working on myself at age 20 in 2009. So it's been 16 years since I've been reading personal development books, reading books like The Slight Edge and The Compound Effect, and just being aware that all my decisions were headed in one of two directions, for massive success or massive failure. And even prior to that, I put some things in place in my athletics and my academics that were positive, that were constructive. But that came at a cost. I didn't just wake up one day and think, I'm going to make an impact or I'm going to be successful. It was because of a lot of trauma that I felt even compelled to embark on that journey. It was because of a lot of fear, because I didn't have a lot of my basic needs met. So I felt like I didn't have a choice but to be successful. I didn't have a choice but to carve a path and find my own way. So I don't know what it's going to take for you. I hope it's not something traumatic. I hope it's not something earth-shattering. But I have found this. Every single person I know that has made a major change in their life, whether it was kicking a habit or, stopping their addiction or really starting that business finally and making it work, or, getting around more successful, healthier people, or joining that church, or just something that was really like a big move for them so that they weren't just kind of going through the motions and blending in. Every person I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot of people, and I've been doing it right here on this podcast, there's this like moment, this day of disgust or this day of decision. And sometimes it's due to their own actions, and sometimes it's because shit just happens. But something life-altering occurred. And it was so jarring, it was such a wake-up call that they kicked into gear. I've heard before, learn from mistakes, preferably other people's. So this is a warning. There's enough stories. If you're catching this episode for the first time and you're like, I don't really know any of those stories, go back and listen to the last 20 episodes, 19, whatever one we're on, and you'll gather plenty of evidence from the guests that I've had of people's incredible stories and how they've overcome and how they've persevered and how they've kept going against all odds. And I've got a bunch of really cool people lined up to get to the core of their story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I keep myself immersed in those stories, so much so that I host a podcast to talk about them, to learn about them, to ask questions about them, because it keeps me safeguarded from the temptations. It keeps me on track. So, like, ingredient number one, look back over your life. Take inventory. Are you thrilled with where you are right now? If you are, good on you. Send me some of the nuggets and gems that you're learning, or why haven't you been a guest on the MyCORE podcast? Let's talk. But odds are there are things in your life that aren't where you want them to be. Well, you can change that immediately. Hopefully you've already been on the path to change that. And this is just confirmation to you, not information. If you've been enacting the compound effect, but not really having the exact words or the framework for it, you're going to love reading the book. You're going to go, oh my gosh, this is so validating to the process that I'm in, to the journey that I'm on. So go get it like immediately. Secondly, and this is probably most important, surround yourself with people that think this way. Doesn't mean get around a homogenous group. Doesn't mean that you can't have diversity of thought, but find people who are also growing. Find people who are also wrestling and grappling with this thing called life because they're in a metamorphosis themselves. They're not wanting to live their lives as ugly. What are they called? Not the butterfly. Before a butterfly, it's a caterpillar. That's it. I hate those things. They're so ugly. As are cocoons. And then they come out and they're beautiful. So if you're living a caterpillar life right now, well, get around people that have already transformed or are in that process, because you can learn from them. You can encourage one another. And then plug into content like this. Even if what you listen to on social media is positive, it can still be a doom scroll, because it's just these little tidbits. It's not enough meat and potatoes to actually rework your thinking. The way successful people become successful is they're literally carving new neural pathways in their brain. They're going against the programming of most likely all of their schooling. Probably everything your parents told you. Literally everything that has been put in your head is probably not serving you. I know that sounds crazy and conspiracy theorist and brainwashy, but yeah, you're going to have to wash your brain of all the crap that was put into it that wanted to turn you into just a following sheep that doesn't question anything, doesn't think for themselves, and doesn't carve their own path in life. So if you want to carve a new path in your life, you're going to have to carve a new path in your thinking. And that's not going to happen by short form content. It's going to happen by saturation. The books you read, the long form content that you consume, and the people you surround yourself with, and most importantly, the conversations that you have with those people. And that's been my cheat code. That's been my secret weapon. I've been around great people. I've put myself in uncomfortable situations. I've built resilience. I've delayed gratification. I've done the thing that in the act of doing it seemed like it made no difference, but compounded over time has made all the difference. And I'm far from perfect, and I have a long way to go. But I know that I'm on the path, and I know that I know. And the evidence of what's happening in my business and in my life and in my health and in all these areas are because of something that started years ago. So if you're listening to this because you've been on that path, good on you, you rock. Send me a message, comment on this, and be like, bro, I've been killing the game. My shit's starting to compound. I'm with you. Awesome. Or you might be going, real talk, I've been on the wrong track. I've been around the wrong people and I'm struggling. Still send me that message. I want to give you more resources. I want to invite you into a deeper community, into a deeper relationship. There's people that I have in my life. There's resources that I have. There's things that I can put you on to that can set you on the right track. And I love doing that. It's one of the joys of my work. So I hope this is an encouragement to you. For many of you that listen, that I know are kind of already in my world, this will be nothing but confirmation, nothing earth-shattering. But I just also wanted to give a little bit of a warning, because if you've been watching MyCORE blow up and you're saying, what is happening over there at MyCORE? It seems like awesome people are working there. It seems like they're able to produce podcast after podcast and this product and that community, and they're just crushing it. How did that happen so quickly? It didn't happen quickly. It happened compounded over time. And right now is where the tipping point is occurring. I just wanted to give a little bit of a disclaimer in case you thought there was some type of like luck or secret sauce or pixie dust, because it's just flat out hard work, good attitude, keeping the faith, doing the right thing, treating people well over an extended period of time. That's the only formula. There's no shortcut. There's no special ingredient. There's simply the compound effect. So have an awesome Monday. TGIM. Thank God it's Monday. Let's crush it this week. It's a new month. There's plenty of time this year to hit our goals. It's only May. You got this. Peace.